Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're going to flip a switch. Light will flood the room and you won't think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch didn't exist. When the sun set, the world went dark. Truly dark. And your ancestors didn't hide from that darkness. They built an entire second life inside it. You assume the night was just wasted time, hours spent waiting for daylight to return. But the real answer is far stranger. Night was not empty for prehistoric humans. It was one of the most important parts of their entire existence. Start with the fire. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years studying the Juhuanzi people of the Kalahari, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. She recorded their conversations during the day and compared them to conversations at night. The difference stunned her. Daytime talk was practical. Complaints, gossip, logistics, arguments over resources. But nighttime talk transformed. Around the fire, the same people told stories, myths, histories of the dead, tales about distant relatives and ancient conflicts. Why did the switch happen? Because firelight changes what a human brain is willing to do. During the day, you are scanning for threats, tracking tasks, managing your body. At night, with a fire holding the darkness back, your mind relaxes into something else entirely. Wiesner's data suggested nearly all nighttime conversations shifted towards storytelling. This wasn't idle chatter. This was culture being built, one fire at a time. Here is where it gets stranger. Every story told around that fire had a job to do. It carried information forward. Who to trust, which plants were poison, where danger lived, which family owed which debt. Before writing existed, the fire circle was the only library humanity had. And night was the only time that library opened. Think about your own life for a second. When do your deepest conversations happen? Not at noon, rushing between tasks. They happen late, after dark, when the distractions fall away and something in your brain finally lets its guard down. That isn't a coincidence. That's 300,000 years of evolutionary programming still running in the background of your evening. But storytelling wasn't the only thing happening after dark. Sleep itself looked completely different. Historian Roger Akirch uncovered something remarkable buried in old court records, diaries, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. He found repeated references to a first sleep and a second sleep. People didn't sleep through the night the way you do. They slept for a few hours, woke naturally in the middle of the night, stayed awake for an hour or two, and then fell back asleep until morning. What did they do during that waking window? They prayed. They had sex. They talked quietly with a partner. Some visited neighbors. This wasn't insomnia. It was normal. Akirch found this pattern referenced so often across centuries that he concluded it was simply how humans slept before artificial light rewired the pattern into one unbroken block. Why would your body naturally split sleep in half? Sleep researcher Thomas Ware ran an experiment in the 1990s that helps explain it. He placed participants in a room with no artificial light for 14 hours a night, mimicking a long ancient winter. Within weeks, their sleep split into two distinct phases, almost exactly matching Akirch's historical records. The quiet hour in between wasn't a malfunction. It appears to be a built-in feature of human biology, one that vanished only after electric light convinced your brain that night no longer needed to be respected. So if you've ever woken at 3 in the morning and panicked, certain something is wrong with you, consider this. Your ancestors woke at that same hour for thousands of generations. They didn't call it insomnia. They called it the quiet hour, and they used it. Night also served a darker, more urgent purpose, keeping you alive. Predators like lions and hyenas hunt disproportionately after dark, when human night vision is weakest. Anthropologists studying the fossil record and modern hunter-gatherer groups have long noted that fire wasn't just for warmth or cooking. It was a survival technology, a wall of light separating your ancestors from creatures that could see far better than they could in the dark. Group sleeping arrangements, watch rotations, and fire maintenance weren't cultural preferences. They were the difference between waking up and not waking up. This is why isolation at night still feels different to you than isolation during the day. A locked door doesn't calm the same part of your brain that once needed a fire and a group of watchful relatives. Your nervous system evolved in a world where nighttime alone meant vulnerability, and no amount of modern security systems has fully convinced it otherwise. Now think about what changed. Thomas Edison didn't just invent a light bulb. He collapsed a boundary humans had respected for their entire existence as a species. Once artificial light arrived, night stopped being a separate world with separate rules. It became an extension of the day. Factories ran through it. Screens glowed through it. The two-phase sleep pattern vanished within a generation or two, according to Kirch's research, replaced by the single consolidated block you rely on now. But here's the twist. Your biology never got the memo. The quiet hour still tries to happen. The urge to gather, to talk, to lower your guard once darkness falls, it's still wired into you. You just answer it differently now. Instead of a fire circle, you scroll a feed. Instead of low-murmured stories about ancestors, you consume stories about strangers on a screen. The format changed. The hunger behind it didn't. That's worth sitting with. The reason late-night scrolling feels almost compulsive isn't a personal failing. It's an ancient behavioral pattern searching for its original outlet and settling for a counterfeit one. Your brain still wants the fire circle. It just doesn't know that's what it's asking for. So the next time you wake at an odd hour of the night, don't reach immediately for your phone to check the time in a panic. Sit in it for a moment first. Somewhere in that stillness is a rhythm your body has carried since before language existed, since before agriculture, since before the first city was ever built. Tonight, when the sun goes down, you'll flip a switch again. But somewhere underneath that convenience, a much older self is still waiting for the fire to be lit.